A light rain had started to fall while she'd unintentionally, and then very intentionally, attempted to goad Ian. But Kelsey didn't rush her steps back to the car. She stood in the drizzle, breathing slowly as though she could exhale the conversation. In college, she'd tried meditation for a while to help with stress, but she'd never mastered the art of clearing her mind. The best she could do was turn her focus elsewhere, and elsewhere typically involved words. If she could distill whatever was bothering her into a single word, she could better grapple with the problem. For Ian, the word she chose was insufferable. Kelsey liked that word for both its Austinish feel and the sound it made, which reminded her of suffocate. Right now, she also liked the idea of smothering Ian with a pillow. That much accomplished, Kelsey climbed into her car before she got any wetter. Rain was a part of life in Helen, especially in the fall. Kelsey would have greatly preferred it to snow as much as the tourists who swarmed the city every summer assumed it did. Instead, it snowed half as much but rained twice as much. She was used to it, but she'd never liked it. Ian, however, she'd tried to like. Or, at the very least, she'd tried to tolerate him. She couldn't help it if he made that impossible. Not letting her dogs into the brewery had been annoying, but she could almost have overlooked that when she saw the mess in the room. After all, Ian was right when he said he had no way of knowing how well-trained her babies were. If she were being fair, he'd made the right call from his perspective. Kelsey did not feel like being fair, though. Ian already had 3 strikes against him before she'd officially met him today. He was part of the town overdevelopment problem. He'd previously been rude to her dogs and to Josh, and her parents, really her father, expected her to like him, or pretend to for the sake of the family. And then today he'd... What? She fumbled with that question as Romeo climbed onto her from the passenger seat and licked her face. But the huskies' kisses didn't entirely wipe away her frown as she pondered this last point. Down, boy! It's only been 5 minutes since you last saw me. Poor Romeo and his attachment issues. She'd adopted him 4 years ago, and he still got stressed if she left him alone. Kelsey had hoped his siblings would ease his anxiety, and they did, but only to a degree. Some dogs, like some people, were just less resilient than others. Juliet and Puck had been rescues too, but they'd settled down with relative ease. Winning Romeo's trust was much more difficult, but once you had it, he got stressed when you weren't around. Go on, get in back with the others. Kelsey patted Romeo on the butt, and the husky climbed into the back seat, swatting her face with his tail as he did. Males. Even the dogs had it in for her. Which brought her back to the topic of Ian and the word insufferable. There had to be something about him to make that particular word leap out of her subconscious. Yes, he'd challenged her. Ian had proved he wasn't about to take hits from the SHS without fighting back. But normally that was something Kelsey could respect. It might even have made her like him a bit, despite him being an enemy. Yet she did not feel any more kindly disposed to Ian than she had this morning. She felt less,